quit fanning the flames and start providing some light. That pretty much summed up Alveda King's take on how some preachers and politicians seized on recent racial tensions in places like Baltimore and elsewhere to make things worse. For Martin Luther King's niece, it kind of went back to both sides trying to be nice to keep the peace. Now to Bishop T.D. Jakes, who suggests everyone also be patient. The bishop is with us now. Very good to have you, my friend.
It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Easier said than done, right? I mean, now we've got hopefully some calm that lasts. So now how do we take advantage of that before the storm?
I think patience is possible when we see progress. And I think if we have incremental steps of progress that people can quantify, I think we're going to see greater patience on both sides. The frustration, I think, exists when people don't see any progress or any hope of coming to some sort of resolution about the challenges we're facing right now.
All right, when you say progress, you're talking in the eyes of young African-American males in particular, right, who feel that the chips are stacked against them?
Well, I think it's for all Americans, but particularly black and brown people are facing some disparities. And I think it is an oversimplification to reduce it to race alone. I think there's an economic component here that many people get into the quagmire of being underemployed or unemployed and don't have the opportunities that they should have to revitalize themselves, as we did historically during the industrial age. You could be a blue-collar worker and make a real good living. Those jobs have now gone away. If you served a criminal justice offense, federal offense in your past, it is forever on your record, never expunged. You can tell people, this is America, get a job, get up on your feet. But then you say, are you an ex-felon? Something you did when you were 17, now you're 42 years old, you still can't get a job. You still can't get a place to stay. We have to make it possible for people to transform their lives.
What do you think about the police? The president has sort of said, stop it with the military-type weaponry. You don't need drones. You don't need planes. All of this other stuff. And if it gets to that level, leave it to the military. In other words, cool it on all this other stuff.
As I understood the documents that I read, he wasn't saying that they couldn't have access to it, but he wanted to clear the approval to get it done. And I think that that is an appropriate thing to look at, that we ought not to, every time we panic, come out with tanks in the middle of the street pointed at our own citizens. That there ought to be some checks and balances in all aspects of our government before we turn our guns on our own people.
I understand. I had a lot of police chiefs from these communities involved. And they said, well, he's defanging us or assuming that we're all murderers and going to go after kids. And they said that the message is he has to rein us in. He's doing nothing to rein, as one of them said, the thugs in.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, I think it has to be a comprehensive effort. All the fault is not on one side, to be sure. We've got some serious problems in the communities. We've got some serious problems in underserved communities that have to be tackled with a multi-pronged approach. And until everybody owns this and stops saying this is a black problem, it's a brown problem. No, it's an American problem. Because if you're not doing well, I'm not doing well either.
We do have disproportionately high black unemployment, black teen unemployment.
Absolutely.
That really hasn't budged for decades.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering, what do you tell young men, because it doesn't be focused on young African-American males, what do you tell them? Many of them are angry or feel like they're victims, or they feel like everything is stacked against them.
It is stacked against them, and we have to move down some of the barriers that exist. The only thing left for you, if you've served time in any way at any point in your life, and you're going to serve time if you can't afford a good lawyer, you're going to serve time in this country.
Let's say you haven't served time.
Well,
let's say you're just judged by your skin. Before you became a famous man, were you ever pulled over or disproportionately pulled aside because of the color of your skin?
Oh, absolutely. That's the reality. That's the reality that goes on with life.
What did you do?
You survive it. You're very careful. You learn to be careful as a minority in this country. Not only me, but my children. I sat on the floor and cried with my own sons as little boys as they were introduced to racism by the time they were 6 or 7. And I didn't even know that they had encountered that enough.
What would you tell them to do?
There's a lot of things we have to do. We have to have strong families to undergird you, to tell you who you are. You can't depend on the neighbors and their attitude about you to make you feel good about yourself. And if you have a strong family, you can get that at home.
So what did you think of this mom who yanked her kid out of the protest?
She looked a lot like my mother.
Yeah,
you
right?
know, she looked a lot like my mother would have grabbed me by my nose and pulled me out. You know, I think we need those family strengths there, but it's hard to have a strong family if dad's in jail. And when you have a disproportionate amount of incarceration, 7 times more likely to be incarcerated than whites when they commit the same crime. We know these stats, but we haven't done anything about them. We have to do something with the things we know.
Do you think Al Sharpton overhypes these events?
I think that Al Sharpton has a role to play and that he plays that role. I don't really like to
That does not answer my question.
No, I answered it. Yeah, I just didn't say what you wanted me to say.
I hear you, I hear you.
I don't think we should castigate any one person. I think we have a tendency to demonize people rather than to understand that people play different roles in the process.
Well, here's what I'm saying, and Bishop, is that I have no problem with the community going to an Al Sharpton. That's fine. But they should go to guys like you. They should go to other reverends who don't share that point of view, or just bring everyone in the mix. I'm a fair and balanced minister.
I think it's a tragedy that the black community still has to go to a pastor to get things done that white communities don't have to go to their pastor of any kind to do.
But, you know, white and black, you know, there are fewer religious these days.
But that whole issue itself, that we have to go and contort a clergyman into a civil rights leader to get something done that you normally have without a fight, is the problem itself. No matter whether they go to Al, me, they shouldn't have to go to anybody to get what every American citizen ought to have.
But are you worried that fewer people now are going to church, fewer people profess a belief in God?
You know, the Pew Report says that fewer people are going to denominations, but it doesn't say that they have less faith. I think that the world has changed, and if you look closely at the Pew Report, it also suggests that non-denominational churches are actually growing. Minority churches are actually growing. The ones that are declining are denominational churches.
Have you always had this deep voice?
All my life. My daddy gave it to me.
When you were 3.
Yeah.
It was intimidating.
Born sounding like Isaac Hayes, you know.
Bishop, Bishop, it's always good having you, a breath of fresh air in the middle of all of this. All right, some